Hey everybody, Mark Johnson here, founder and creative director of Abe Studios, dropping in with another movie review. The movie I'll be reviewing today is Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot, a 2018 film directed by Gus Van Sant. On the rocky path to sobriety after a life-changing accident, John Callahan discovers the healing power of art, wheeling his injured hands into drawing hilarious, often controversial cartoons, which bring him a new lease on life. So with that is a little bit of introduction to what this film is. I should also say that it's based on a true story. It's the story of John Callahan, who wrote a book based on his life. And, it could come off, this film I feel can kind of come off as a little bit of a dark comedy. I feel that the content in there is, a little bit quirky, a little weird, but I think at the same time, it definitely has a inspirational, I wouldn't say ending, but an inspirational kind of progression to the story that I think is very interesting. The story starts with us being introduced to John Callahan, played by Joaquin. And we find out pretty quickly that he's kind of struggling. He's in a point where he's kind of probably in between jobs. He's looking for work. He's trying to maintain himself as a viable human being in the world. I think at the same time, one of the things that's hindering him at this point is the fact that he is an alcoholic. And as the story kind of starts out, we see that that is the reason, or one of the things that is keeping him from fully becoming productive within the community. He's an alcoholic, so he's drinking throughout the day. He's having rushes where he needs to drop everything and get to the liquor store to get something to drink, and it's just kind of really being a hindrance within his life. As the story progresses, we see that he's, in a sense, still tracking down work leads, and one of these leads leads him to a party. At this party, he meets another character, Dexter, which is played by Jack Black, and they hit it off. For whatever reason, they, have a connection and they enjoy each other's company. And so, rather than, spending the full time at this one party, they go from party to ending up at a dive bar where, at that point, they decide to go to another party. And so, as they take off to go to this other party, John's driving the car and Dexter's in the passenger seat. And so you can imagine what could happen at this point, and it does happen. There's a car accident. At this point, Dexter, is out of the story, because now we are more focusing on the experience that John has from this point on. He's already an alcoholic, but now he's dealing with spinal cord injury. He breaks his neck. And for those who know me, you can believe that this part of the story I can relate to. Not that I was in a drunk driving accident or anything like that, but I was in a car accident and I broke my neck and ended up with spinal cord injury, losing a good friend. And so this part, it's definitely going to trigger me in some things, but the story progresses from there. So John is dealing with, alcohol addiction. And now he's got to change, or his life completely changes, and now he has to deal with life living in a wheelchair. And we see that struggle, and I think that's kind of what would endear another person to this film. But I think it's definitely a endearing point in the film, and he progresses. It may not always be good. We also find out that, throughout the film, that John is a little bit of an asshole. He does have an edge to him that most people can get around, but sometimes it just kind of comes out and it's just the wrong way, in the wrong situation to address it in some cases that he does. And so as he deals with these situations, he ends up deciding to go to what is like an AA meeting, but it's run by a trust fund guru, spiritual guide, played by Jonah Hill, and his name is Donnie. And so at this point, John and Donnie connect. Donnie gives John chance after chance to be a part of this exclusive group, because not everyone can be a part of this group. And so we see the progression. We see how Donnie John relates to this life change. And one of the things that he picks up is a pen or a pencil, and he starts to draw. He starts to do these little doodles that have kind of maybe sometimes a vulgar tone to it, or a vulgar kind of laugh out of it. And I think this is where the dark comedy kind of comes in. I feel that these moments, again, relate to me because I'm an artist. And so I know in my experience how, being able to still be able to draw was one of those things that, made me feel that life would still be okay, as much as, I was in a spinal cord injury and I had to live life in a wheelchair. And so as it develops from there, we see him being in a position where people are pushing back on the type of cartoons he's drawing. Some people like it. There's a great deal of people who don't like it, and they are definitely against it because they are, writing into the newspaper or the magazine telling them, why are they printing this garbage? And so as this progresses, we start to see how these opportunities helps John change his life. So in the end, for Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot, a 2018 film directed by Gus Van Sant, based off a true story. I feel there's great elements to this film that make it as good as it is to me. I feel that obviously I'm biased in some ways because the story kind of reflects my own story in some ways. But I think, number one, the performance of Joaquin Phoenix in this film, for me, rivals his performance that he did in Joker. And I know that's a film that a lot more people had seen. It's a more high-profile film, and this being like a Sundance independent film, probably not very many people saw this, but his performance in this film is very strong, and it in a sense makes the film. I think the next part that makes this film is the story. It's an interesting story. The film is an hour and 54 minutes long, but at the same time, with the interesting story as this one, I didn't have a problem, sitting and watching through it and being entertained or engaged throughout. So for this film, I am going to give it a 4.5. You could call me biased if you want, but I feel a 4.5 is where this film needs to be graded at. Again, for the acting performance of Joaquin Phoenix to the story itself, I had a strong connection. Again, you can call me biased, but I think at the same time, if you watch this and you can come away with it not being, in a sense, inspired, or at least be like grateful for your life as it is, I think that maybe then, yeah, you could grade it a little different than I did. But I think a 4.5 is appropriate. So that has been my review for Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot, a 2018 film directed by Gus Van Sant. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing with the channel, make sure to subscribe. And if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, or a film that you think that I should review, make sure to leave all that in the comment box below. And then lastly, if you don't want to miss any of my upcoming posts, make sure to ring that bell. So again, that has been my review for Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot, a 2018 film. And like we always do at this time, have a blessed day. I will see you on the flip side. Let's go.